Hey folks, Troy Dooley, the Beachside CEO. Hope you guys are having an awesome Friday going into Father's Day weekend. It is awesome and it's powerful. Hey, three things right off the bat. Number one, this is Men's Mental Awareness Month. And I tell you what, men's mental health is important. It is very, very important. It's something that isn't talked about for decades, at least in America. It was played down. If you wanted to be a man's man, then you didn't talk about your emotions. You didn't talk about what you were going through. And we saw a rise of drug use. We saw a rise of alcohol, and we saw a rise in domestic violence. So men's mental health is important, and this is the month where we really get into promoting that, letting men know, letting wives know, letting girlfriends, moms, sisters, there is an alternative. There is something there for these men. It's also PTSD Awareness Month. They kind of go hand in hand, except it's a broader deal with men and women these days, from military, domestic violence, sexual abuse, trafficking. It doesn't matter what it is. We want people to know you're seen and you're important. And I've got some legacy fighters that have gone on to the other side, and I'm fighting for them as well. And it's tough, man. People don't realize just what the magnitude is of the men's mental health issues and PTSD. Look, we celebrate, and we've been constantly working with females, and that is just as important. But this is the month where we focus in on what you can do. And ladies, there's some telltale signs. I've put them up on social media where you can see if the man in your life or the men in your life, this goes for boys too. I've had my own sons go through this trauma. I've gone through this trauma. It took me decades to start to realize what was going on inside. So if you don't think you've got mommy issues or daddy issues or any of that, you've suppressed any kind of abuse that you've gone through as a man when you were younger. And it doesn't necessarily, this is something that I think is important. And we're going to get into the news, but this is my passion. One of the things that I don't think men like to talk about is the abuse that they've taken from women. And I'm talking about sexual abuse more than physical. A lot of times it is physical, but a lot of times guys growing up and they're going into their prime, this is something that nobody wants to talk about. It's just a rite of passage. Oh, look at me, man. I had my conquest. And then years down the road, it affects your marriage. It affects your relationship, affects your relationship with your girlfriend. So very important. We've got great links up on my walls that you can go check out. So we want to do that. Hey, some good news though. Richard Blissbrook, dear friend of mine, company founder, distributor in the direct sales space, sat on numerous committees for decades at the DSA, uh, just launched a brand new weekly newsletter called, what is this called, man? He gives me this stuff. I love this. The Bliss Bulletin. Listen to this. He also popped a video out this week that I think everybody should watch. Network Marketing, the Future. He's got over 40 decades in this thing. It's going to be good. You can hit him up on any social media. You can go to Richard Bliss Brook, BROOKE.com. Richard Bliss Brook. You can get all of the details that you want there. Let's get into some news, and we're going to get into something that is starting to be a troublesome situation, and I'm going to give some people fair warning of what can happen, and I want them to know it. But let's look at some stuff here that's going on. Beachbody relaunches their affiliate and referral programs. Just gosh, what was it? A couple months ago, I think we were reporting on this. They nixied everything. Well, they ended up getting a $35 million influx from one of the hedge funds, one of the asset people that are out there constantly looking for stuff. And I've got private equity firms that we work with, but they got this pump in. So what's it mean? If you love the Beachbody program, you were devastated when they took away everything, but you're a rank and file member and you say, gosh, man, I've never really built a team, but man, I had some customers and I sold a bunch of stuff. Well, let's look at what we get here. This Beachbody, known as Body, but is making waves with the relaunch of its affiliate partner program. Influencers, customers, this is interesting, and content creators can now earn up to 40% commissions by promoting the Body digital subscriptions, supplements, and equipment. Program offers free enrollment, personalized tracking links, discounts, early access to new products. Plus, all customers can join the referral program. Share, it's called a refer a friend link to unlock discounts for new customers and rewards for themselves. Of course, this follows a $35 million investment from Tiger Capital Group. So it's doing a turnaround. It's building its strategy. We're going to put up next week the top 100 global. Body's doing millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. So this is a good news. It really is good news. Herbalife's got some cool stuff we're looking at. Herbalife's aloe testing method earns AOAC certification. Herbalife is setting new industry standards with the AOAC International Certified Method of detecting. This is one of those big, long medical words, but basically, aloins, ALOINS. It is what it is. In aloe vera, what they're doing is they're pulling out what, if it was CBD, we'd say the cannabinoids. They're pulling those out. They're looking at them. Developed by Herbalife scientists and validated by independent labs, the first of its kind protocol ensures the safety and purity of aloe-based products. With 5 patents and 3 published studies, Herbalife's use of nuclear magnetic resonance (NMR) spectrophotometry confirms the molecular integrity of aloe vera. This validation is a milestone for Herbalife in the industry. Here's the cool part. A lot of people, they want to look at Herbalife and they say, oh, that's that company that the FTC and the SEC went after. They must be a pyramid scheme. Nothing's farther from the truth. But here's something cool that came out of all those years in the battle. Everything that Herbalife does needs to have scientific evidence behind it. Talk about a great thing. There's been some great companies over the years that have done stuff like this, but now this is part of the DNA of Herbalife. Something else that Herbalife does, and it's the only company outside of Amway that I know that does this. They've got an agreement with their reps to say, look, man, we are always going to have a distributor base that's helping us promote our business. To me, I think it's awesome. This is great news. Amway and HEM Pharma deepen microbiome research partnership. Amway is doubling down on its gut health innovation and has expanded its partnership with Hem Pharma. Over the past decade, the duo has built one of the world's largest gut microbiomes database, driving breakthroughs in nutrition, skin health, oral health, and clean air and water solutions. Again, Amway led the way in this, and now they're branching this research into Japan, Thailand, Malaysia, Taiwan, and the U.S. Another big win. Listen, when companies that use a direct selling model to market their products are being recognized internationally, having scientific firms say, look, let's partner up and see what else we can do. The industry's here to stay. Do we have some situations around that we've got to clean up? Absolutely. That's the way it always is. But this means that young startup companies have a chance to really piggyback on what's being done by the big companies. And if they don't shortchange it in their ingredients and they don't put together some crappy, sloppy comp plan, listen, if their founders have the same vision that these guys as founders and current leadership have, then any company out there can really kick it up and go big time. Its inaugural Canadian Connect event. PartnerCo is now officially in Canada. They had hundreds of entrepreneurs that attended in Calgary. Attendees explored PartnerCo's culture, gained business insights from industry veterans, and celebrated the Canadian debut of slenderized drops. Now, let me tell you something about that. It's a 2-drop system. You take 2 different kinds. You can also take some of their legacy products like noni juice and stuff like that. Helps. We got on these products not too long ago, and found them tasty. That's one thing. Doesn't matter what anybody says. If it doesn't taste good in network marketing, nobody wants to take it. But it actually has been beneficial, and I can't tell you that I've lost a bunch of weight off of it like some of these people have. But I did see an increase in energy, so I love that part of it. But man, they're jamming it out. Here's another one. This is a dear friend of mine. Sarah Fairless Robbins just launching the Multiply Method book launch. I have I'm getting my galley copy in the mail. I get to read it before everybody else, and we'll do a review on it. But I also have got to write in there after reading through that book when I had it in just her text format. Just some, I tell you, you guys are going to be blessed with this. A lot of people say, Troy, when you do these shout outs like this, are they paying you? No, down the road, we might take some sponsors and stuff, but right now, the Lord's blessed us to where we're not doing that. And I'm excited that we're able just to showcase people that have come across our path in our life. And either I have been able to be mentored by, or I've helped mentor them through situations. And this is my way of paying back, giving back. And that's the fun part. And Sarah's been like a little sister. Her and Phil. Matter of fact, Phil got an awesome book. Now, look, he wrote this back in 2015, but Phil Robbins got a book for men called The Secret Garage. I tell you what, go out on Amazon, go out on Audible, grab that book. I called Phil the other day and said, look, I'm gonna buy a bunch of copies of this for the men that I'm working with here on the beach. Powerful book. So it's pretty cool there. But now I want to get into something serious, something that I've seen happen. It seems that legitimate consumer advocates like Truth in Advertising, we know it is Tina, behind MLM with the group over there that go by a pseudonym called Oz. Um, what is it over at the Magnet, over at Ponzi Tracker? Another great guy. You got some really good advocates. George Dorn and I have created a very solid internet relationship. He is one of the big proponents over at realscam.com. Now, listen, these are legitimate consumer advocates that know how to do their due diligence. They find out the truth and they report the truth. Do I always agree with the truth? Nope. Do I agree with the spin that they do? No, they hit me back in the Zeke Rewards days. But here's what I did. They allowed me the platform to go over into their communities and respond to things. And some of it, I just flat said, yeah, I was wrong, man. I apologize. I screwed up. I didn't see it. As Richard said to me, you were too close to the forest to see the trees, all of that. But now there's this new onslaught of, I don't know what they are. They think they are avengers. They think that they're vigilantes and they're going to right the wrongs. And in a lot of cases, they've left themselves completely exposed to what's going on. And it's especially happening right now with what we call Zoom bombers. That's a real verb. That's what they use them. And they're self-proclaimed anti-Ponzi vigilantes trying to disrupt network marketing through Zoom calls. And here's the problem. Two things. There's more than two, but this is what you got to learn. A lot of these people work outside the United States. They'll be in Great Britain, Australia, New Zealand. They could be in Russia. They could be in Iran, for that matter. It could be anywhere. Yes, some of them are in the United States. Some of them actually have a bone to pick. They have somehow been bullied inside of network marketing. Some of them physically, some of them sexually abused, some of them were given false promises. These are men and women. And it's devastating to see it happen. Some of them were six-figure earners, earning great money, and they had to earn it, and then they had it taken away. They found out that it wasn't everything that it was cracked up to be. And we have our blemishes, so let's not pretend we don't. But what they're doing now is violating the laws in several G20 countries, but specifically in the United States. And I want to cover some of this for both sides. Okay, I had a person contact me with their company today. I went over and looked at an article that was written on one of these vigilante websites. The information was completely wrong. They had information out there that did not happen to have anything to do with the people that own this company. They just thought they did, or maybe they used Chat GPT. This is the problem with artificial intelligence. If you don't know an industry and you're just trying to get clicks and zooms and most of these people, listen to them, even Oz has to do this. You'll see up on his website now, hey, do you want to donate $5 a month? Many people are donating just so they can help him stay alive, okay? Because he had his life threatened not too long ago. Do I agree with everything he says? Nope. But boy, he sure put some facts together when it comes to these international Ponzi schemes. I can tell you that. So you've got to look at this stuff with vigor. If you're trying to do due diligence on a company, don't just take some talking heads information. Do the due diligence that's out there. We've got people on the ground internationally, and that's when we start researching a company, we'll pick this up. I remember, gosh, it's been 8 years ago. I got a phone call late at night from the Philippines. And one of our guys in the Philippines said, "Hey, man, I'm sitting in on a meeting, and this was one of your clients, and one of their top executives just said, we don't need Troy Dooley to help us stay out of trouble. And when I get back home, I'm going to terminate him." Me being the kind of guy I am, I just text that executive on the phone, said, "Hey, man, it sounds like you're having a good meeting, but I just heard that you don't think you need me. And the fact is, you just got an SEC investigation letter. You must not known about it." You know, this is the way we build intelligence. You don't just go out there and use a chat GPT or something. You put feet on the ground, you find out what the information is, and then you say, "Hey, here's the real struggles." Back when we were in the business of doing this, we got written up in a lot of magazines for a lot of good stuff that was done, but we didn't take other people's words for it. We got all the information, we did all the due diligence, we made phone calls, we had people on the ground, we figured it out. That's the only way to do it. When we do protect the house now, we want it to go and we want to make sure it's happening. But what we're seeing is these new avengers, adversaries, um, vigilantes. They aren't doing that. They're jumping onto Zoom calls and they're disrupting the Zoom call, telling people, "Contact me. This is a Ponzi scheme. You can't trust these people." Well, when you go on to a private Zoom call, and when I mean private, I don't mean that it's not open to the public. I mean the corporation, Zoom, has entered into an agreement with the individual. It's a private agreement. And Zoom is saying, we're going to make sure you have a safe environment for your people to come to. So when it's not a safe environment, this gets Zoom corporate's legal team involved. It also allows the people that are on the calls, all the people on the call, it opens the door for them to file some type of criminal or civil charge. Now, here's what we hear a lot from these vigilante folks. They say, "Well, you can't catch me. I've got my rights." Well, you do have your rights. Your First Amendment right goes for everybody if you're in the United States. However, this is corporate. So this is corporate speech. This is you making money. Either you're selling courses or you're getting AdSense or you're getting TikTok, you're getting some type of monetization because none of you that are out here doing this can afford to do it for free. If you look at Bonnie Patton over at Truth in Advertising, they take donations. They have an underwriter that funds their nonprofit organization. If you look at Ponzi Tracker, he's an attorney by trade, so he's making his money and he's funding his deal. When you look at Behind MLM, he's funding his deal. You know, ours is talknews dot or talkgigs.news. That's a public site. We fund that with sponsorships. I'm a co publisher in a magazine. All this stuff is revenue that comes in. So when we do these talks, we're not covered by the First Amendment. So that's number one. But here's some of the stuff you've got to look at. Criminal offenses. Uh, you could get disorderly contact, harassment, cyberbullying, defamation, cyber stalking, or unauthorized access, which is covered under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. This is what happens, and I'm telling both sides of this. I'm making this clear to people that have a crusade that they're on. But I'm also telling this to every one of our networking friends that are out here using Zoom calls where this happens. You have rights here to protect the welfare of your attendees, to help you in different cases because of what's going on that you could feel violated. You could feel assaulted. There's laws in place for this. There's civil claims, defamation, uh, in intentional infliction of emotional distress, tortious interference with business. State laws apply for most claims, but federal laws kick in when it's interstate activity. Zoom, when you have people coming in from different states, from different countries, all these rules, all these laws apply. So you've got to think this stuff through. I want to pull up a little bit more here from the defamation. That can be a criminal case. People can go to prison. Oh, sure, I don't have to worry about that. I'm in the Netherlands. Let's use that as an example. Well, here's the deal. If a person files a lawsuit in the United States, they look at where the jurisdiction is, who has the rights. They can say, we have the right because this person's a citizen. That other country may not recognize that, but they do have treaties that recognize if something happens, then they've got to abide by the certain treaties that are there. The big thing that you've got to look at is the cyber stalking or threats. This is a federal situation. It's also stuff like this is covered under the Hague Treaty and other types of treaties from the UN that are out there that protect individuals. You've got cyber stalking, you've got unauthorized access or hacking because somebody gets on and they say, oh, no, that's not me, Troy. I had a code. You had a code under malicious intent. You didn't have a code because you wanted to join the company or join the opportunity. And therein lies the problem. You weren't trying to buy a product. Jurisdiction, again, is state and federal. However, sometimes it is international. It can be from civil violations to criminal violations. The intentional infliction of emotional duress, um, if derogatory statements are extreme and outrageous, they could support a civil claim. Here's the deal. If you say, hey, this guy just settled an FTC claim or just settled an SEC claim, and you've got the wrong person, they can sue you and get multiple amounts. Now, some people will say, no, I don't have to worry about this whatsoever. Well, if you go read about Oz over at Behind MLM, he's an international corporation, not on the shores of the United States, and yet he got sued by a Ponzi scheme in the United States, and they wanted to take his assets. They wanted to disclose who his real identity is in a U.S. court, and were forcing him. He had to do some really interesting things to make sure that they couldn't take his website down to protect everything that he put together. You're not exempt. And if you're going around saying, well, I'm exempt and I can do this anyway, then are you any different than the Ponzi or the pyramid, the real true Ponzi pyramid schemers out there? I don't think so. What you're saying is, I can get away with something that's criminal. I can do away with hurting people. I don't have to be held accountable for my actions. Everything that I've read in over 21,000 documents from the courts, every Ponzi or pyramid person that got convicted would say the same thing. And this is where it's at. And when we go to websites and we see that you're selling courses or you're selling training events or your jewelry or competing products without a comp plan, now your intent really looks like you've got a little bit of bias involved. Hey, if I can pull all these people from this company, then I'm going to make money. That's not true advocacy. Truth in advertising is not selling anything out the back door. Oz doesn't sell anything out of the back door. If you're going to do this, you need to do this right. But those folks that have had this Zoom bombing take place, those of you who have been cyber stalked and been bullied on the internet because you just happen to be in network marketing, direct sales, affiliate marketing, whatever you call it, you have a leg to stand on. You need to be able to know that. We have law firms that are very versed in these laws. They do not have a problem looking at these, giving advice. In a lot of cases, if they need to, they can engage to be able to stop this. However, we also have something new. We can now go directly to the agencies themselves. So we can go to Interpol and file a complaint when we know this is there. We can go to another country and file these complaints. We can go to the FBI. We can even go to the FTC and say, hey, on your behalf, they're saying all these things and they're saying that you're involved. We can go now with the influence that we have been able to get over the last few years, Bloomberg. We can go to Newsweek. We can go to some of these international publications with offices international to say, hey, let me give you the inside scoop. And now this was the one we just finished finalizing last week. We now have law firms working out of Australia and Europe that have said, look, if you have this happen to your clients or you have this happen to people that you see it isn't fair, let us know. We'll put our investigators to find out who these people are. And if need be, we can make sure that that the people that this is happening to, that we can represent them internationally in the countries of records, because you can't do this. If something's illegal, it's illegal. If you have your opinion and you want to state you have your opinion, I'm all for that. I have no problem with that. But for you to maliciously jump on a call, and in one case not too long ago, uh, pop up pornographic material in the comments. None of this is right. You cannot do this. You're acting just like the Ponzi and the pyramid schemers. And I might even go so far as to say is maybe that's what you are. Maybe you're hoping to disrupt legitimate business so people will come over and join one of your schemes that's out there. So I know this has been a little longer on a Friday. It's a wonderful Father's Day weekend. Please keep in mind men's mental health as you go into the weekend. Please keep in mind that PTSD is real. This happens on male and females. Okay, we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help those before they go too far. They commit suicide, or worse yet, they start shooting people or killing people around them. We don't want to see that. Have a great weekend. Live well, finish strong, and remember, forever forward. We'll see you next week.